Hi Kyle, this is Scott. I thought that instead of doing all the paperwork and taking a bunch of time to record the settings and then sending that over to you, that maybe a video thing would be just as good. Easy for me to put together and maybe easier for you to see where the menus are navigated to instead of trying to interpret what's on a sheet of paper. So here's my DX7 and here's my T-Rex 700 program. If I go ahead and enter the program now, we'll start with just the default screen, I guess. Actually, let me kind of back up here. So, of course, this is the monitor screen. I do want to highlight real quick that I do have the airplane model, which means that my switches are set a little bit different than a helicopter. Basically, the main change is that instead of a flight mode switch being on the far upper left for normal idle up 1 and idle up 2, I have a flap switch that does that, but everything else is the same. So this should look exactly like your DX7. Nothing much to see here, just kind of backing up so that you can see where we start with. So going forward, you'll see the DR and Expo. On this is where you get to set your dual rates, of course. The aileron rate on this, Expo of 20 and a DR of 65, and this is position 0, as you can see. Elevator is 20 and 65. Rudder is 20 and 70. And we'll swing right back here to aileron. Now if we take a look at position 1, and the way we get to that is either by flipping up the throttle hold or the idle up. Now we're in position 1. You can see that my aileron throws are all the way up to 100%. Expo is still at 25. So aileron 25 and 100 in position 1. Elevator 25 and 100, and rudder 25 and 100. Coming back to aileron. So there you go. Position 0, position 1, using just my throttle hold switch. Moving on to the next menu. This is where it automatically switches between those two dual rate settings. In normal mode, I want it to be less responsive, more calm, more stable, because I'm down there on the ground. And that's program 0, you can see. But in my Sport 1 and Sport 2, or idle up 1 and idle up 2, I want it to go to those full throws, because at that point I'm flying around in full. So my strategy is that, when I take off from the ground, I'm in normal mode, obviously, and I get it up to where I'm in hover. I kind of move the servos, get reconnected to the heli, and then I go ahead and throw on up to the idle up 2 mode. I don't really do idle up 1 or Sport mode. I go all the way up to idle up 2, and you'll see that that switches to the program 1 and not program 0, so the high dual rates. Why is my hold on dual rates number 1, or the second setting? Because that's where I'm flying most of the time, and if I have to flip my idle up because I've got a problem with the engine, or I'm doing the chicken dance or whatever, I'm probably already going to be in that idle up 2 mode. So I want my throws to be the same, so I don't have yet another set of variables to mess with while I've already got an emergency going on. Next menu. These are the reversing settings. So we've got normal, reverse, normal, 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 normal. So the only reverse we have here is the aileron. Everything else is normal. Subtrim, you'll see my throttle 0, elevator is up 12, aileron is left 10, rudder is 0, and oops, I need to go up a couple, oops, not that one, select, gear is 0, pitch is 0, and aux 2 is 0. So going back to the beginning of that menu again, throttle 0, elevator up 12, aileron left 10, rudder 0, gear 0, pitch 0, aux 2 0. And all that does is that sets the servos so that they're all at 90 degrees and perfectly leveled out. Okay, so moving up another menu to the travel adjust menu, my throttle on the high side is 92, on the low side is 100. And that matches the amount of throw that servo needs to go to adjust the throttle so that it doesn't bind but still has full carburetor stretch from forward and back. Elevator 100s, aileron 100s, rudder 100s, and gear is plus 100 and negative 28. I'll explain why later, but that's the governor mode. Aux 2 is 100s and pitch is at 100s. So again, the weird thing here is your gear is plus 100, minus 28, and then back on that throttle screen you've got 92 for the high, but 100 on the low. Swash mix, 55s. So plus 55, minus 55, plus 55. They match the throws correctly so that when you're, flipping to your right, it turns the swash to the right, left, forward, backwards, etc. So those are all synchronized. So plus 55, minus 55, plus 55. And obviously 3 servos at 120 degrees in between each one of those arms, and there's no expo. It is inhibited. Next screen. This one you should start off with at hold position of 5.0%, and that's on the rudder DR switch. What this does is it allows you to set it so that when you hit your throttle hold on, it will idle the motor. It'll idle the engine. And so when you're in the pitch and you start to heli up, you go ahead and put your throttle hold on after the motor is up and running so that you can't accidentally bump the throttle and have the thing start cutting around on you. This percentage may need to change from day to day as the environmental conditions change and as your engine gets hotter or cooler. And so I'll typically go into this menu and increase or decrease this value so that when I'm in normal mode, when I don't have the throttle hold on and I've started the heli up and it's running, then I'll flip this hold on, and if the engine increases or decreases, I'll go into this menu and adjust it to just 0.1 or 0.2 or whatever off so that it matches really nicely. Next menu, throttle curve. This throttle curve is pretty darn straightforward. This is in normal mode, so we're at 0, inhibit, 60%, inhibit, 100%. And the reason why it's increased a little bit is that we want to get the engine up to its normal running speed, because an OS 91 has a power curve that's a bit higher than 50%. We want to get it up in there, but the governor will still maintain that constant RPM on the head. Next menu is that throttle curve for ST1. Now this is in sport flying that I hardly ever fly. You're welcome to adjust this if you want, but I've got it at 70, 65, 60, 75, and 100. With the governor on, this doesn't really have that big of an effect, but what it does do is it provides a backup curve in case the governor freaks out and you need to disable it. In fact, that's the half of why I have that 100% in the gear channel. Remember from before we had plus 100, minus 28. The plus 100 means that if I flip the aux2 switch on the upper right, it will disable the governor. And so that way if you have a freaked out governor or a sensor that's not working right, you can flip that switch and disable it, and then these curves will be your backup curves. Now the next one is the backup curve then for your idle up 2. And so it starts out at 100, inhibit, 85, inhibit, 100. And there's no expo. So that's the backup curve, throttle curve, when the governor's not active in the ST2 or the full idle up mode. Pitch curve. This is when you are in low mode or normal mode and you're hovering. What you want to do is you want to have just a little bit of negative pitch when it's in your full down position here. So it's 42.5, inhibit, 50%. That should always be 50 in the center because you want your blades to be completely flat in the center in all your modes. 0.3 is inhibit, 0.4 is 100. So again, 42.5, inhibit, 50, inhibit, 100. Moving on to ST1, 35%. Like if you're out sport flying around, again, this is that mode that I hardly ever fly in. But you probably want to have a little bit more negative there so you can bring it down more quickly, be a little more zigzaggy. But again, I never fly in this mode. But 35% inhibit, 50%, again, they should all be 50 in the center, inhibit, and 100%. Now here's the juice. Clear up here in ST2 or full idle up mode, You should have 0 for full negative pitch. Inhibit means it doesn't do anything to that linear curve. 50 in the center, right? It needs to always be 50 there. And then inhibit on the 75% set. And then all the way up there at high is 100. So you have full pitch range from full negative here to full positive up on the throttle. You can see that that is set there. Now in hold, we do the exact same match as to what we fly the most in, which would be our idle up mode. So once you hover, you get up off the air, you feel the airplane get connected, flip into idle up mode, you go flying around. If you ever need to hit hold, it should set your throttle and your pitch. Well, throttle cuts out, but it should set your pitch and all of your throws to be the same as what you were flying in to minimize the number of variables you have to deal with in your emergency. And here we go, Revo Mix. We don't do any of that in these modern helicopters. Gyro Sense. This is your gyro settings for the 750 gyro. 70 in both of these I found to be perfect for holding the tail. You may like it a little bit more sensitive or a little less sensitive, but start with 70. Your normal mode, for your flight modes, for normal should be setting 0, in stunt 1, and hold 1. Because these numbers are the same, it's not going to matter now. But if you ever change these numbers so that one setting is a little bit better for higher RPMs, maybe you got more or less harmonic vibration going on there, so you either need to increase or decrease the gyro whenever the engine's up there in that high setting, then this will set it so that your normal mode goes to this rate, and your stunt mode goes to this rate, and your hold mode goes to number 1 as well. We do have some mixes in here to handle the governor. This setting here, you can see aux2 to aux2, 75, 100. This allows you to disable the governor. Just cut that sucker right out. So again, it's plus 75 on the high end, plus 100 on the bottom end. The switch, this is on all the time, so that when aux is set on, you can turn off the governor. Program Mix 2 is really cool. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody do this, and since I don't know, in your Nitro Heli, the Raptor, I don't know if you've done it or not, but this allows you to set a throttle cut switch. Basically, in my transmitter, the up left hand switch is a gear toggle. Well, look at your gear toggle, and when this is set, see the switch is gear? When this is set, it will automatically take 12 points away from the throttle setting. I know it says plus 12, but when it's negative, it'll go negative plus 12 amount. And that will allow you to cut the throttle. Okay, so how does this work? So you're out there, you go to fly, you start up the helicopter, you put it into throttle hold mode, you walk it out to the line, you lift it up in normal mode, you get connected with the heli, you flip it into your idle up 2 mode, you fly around, you impress the crowd, you love it, you land after you go into normal mode, and you set it down, and you walk out to the heli, and if you accidentally bump the transmitter while you're taking a temperature on your engine, then you got your blade starting up and you get all embarrassed and it's a bad day. What this allows you to do is to reach up to the upper left to hit that gear switch, flip it, and it'll turn that engine off. Nice and impressive actually when you do that. Everybody thinks you got complete control of the heli, so it's great. And that's it. Program Mix 3 doesn't have anything. Countdown timer I've set for 10 minutes because this T-Rex 700 will fly all frickin' day. I know I said 8 minutes or more of flight time. That's true. You can actually fly up to 10 minutes in these conservative settings with Cool Power Heli 20%. If you're running 30%, 8 minutes is probably a better number. But when you're on 20%, yeah, you can exhaust yourself for 10 minutes out there on that heli. And that's pretty much it. You go back to the monitor and you verify your settings. You look at your heli, make sure it's moving all the way you expect it to. Hopefully this was informative. Give me an email if you want some additional video or to clarify specific things, but I think it's pretty comprehensive. So hopefully this did the trick. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.